Yo, Matt. Hey guys, give me a few minutes to get all set up here. Grab your soda. Cap, nice, Matt. You get him, champ. And thanks for the membership, brother. Appreciate it. We're getting closer to our 100 goal. Once we hit that 100 number, we're gonna get a little wacky. All right, start getting some things set up over here. We'll be about 5-10 minutes before we're really rolling. So you guys got time for bio break and all the stuff. Caffeine. Ping your buddies. Tell them to hop online. We're gonna get into it. What did I call this? It's basically, it's gonna be like a mini hackathon today, I think, maybe. Well, that's interesting. Huh. I'm learning new stuff. What do I want to call this? How to power use AI, yeah. How to power use AI and MIT's top 10 things that matter. All right. Hey, Dat. What's up, brother? You guys are both on the Discord, right? I'm pretty sure you are. Okay, I got that piece. Now I need to get this piece over here. Whoa, I'll come back here. Just trying to get Insta locked and loaded. It loves all the special attention that only it gets. That's what I'm talking about. Sweet. No, I don't actually care about it. Get that out of there. Yeah. Okay. I'm doing some stuff with OBS here on the side. And it's awesome. Like, I just leveled up my user interface. So I'm continuing to learn new tricks, essentially. All right, let's drop this here. Excellent. Yo, Chris. What's up, brother? I'm gonna be fiddling with my webcam because I want you guys to check. I think, yeah. Let me move this over a little. I've got like 200 things on my screen. You guys can only see one of the several. Surprise! The one you see is not the only one. I know that comes as a shock to all of you. Let's see here. I'm going to compress this over a little bit like this. Now it looks awful, right? But not really, because of that trickery. Oh yeah. So this right over here, this baby, this is my new waiting for the girlfriend. She wants to watch your stream. Awesome. Yeah, man. I love that Ursina is digging the streams. By the way, Chris, this dashboard built, bro. This is using charm, bro. It's all we rewrote the whole thing from Python to Go. Look at this. I'm not saying it's fully using charm, but it's charm locked now. It's probably just not charm leveled up in all the stuff, but charm is directly integrated now. So check this out. I mean, I'm going to get into this in the stream. I'm going to talk about how I built this so people can, what does that say right here. Explain how I built, what is it? Build? Oh, I don't know, fix that. Fix the text. How I build to how I built the DT dashboard. Check this out. Add one more bullet. Thank you. No, dum-dum. Chris Roy 87. Yeah, so it's not it's still a work in progress, and I literally I built this whole thing from scratch this morning. But check this out. There you go. Live updatable in many of the components. There's multiple, well, you're only seeing one of the many screens. That's all I'm gonna like allow you guys to see so far. But this is all rewritten. Look at this right here. About 3,000 lines of Go across 15 files. We rewrote the whole thing from Python to Go, integrated the charm system, including the various doodads. Now, just to be clear, again, it's probably not fully leveled up into the full capability, but now it's all Golang. And let me show you, just so you can see. You're probably forgetting, just because you haven't been staring at it like I have. Let me show you. How do I make this big? I'm going to get, basically, you guys better buckle in, because today's stream, I got the feeling that we're going to get deep down the rabbit holes, and I've got like the tech nerd scientist vibe rocking in me today. I think I'm going to like go off. All right. This is, what time is this? What time? Approximately 5. Hello, Ricardo. Welcome from the US to Portugal. Great to have you, brother. Let me just see something here. Yeah, so approximately 5 hours ago, I had nothing. Nothing. And then the first incarnation, before I switched it, this is, how do I make this bigger? Here we go. Yeah, do that. Some of these tools, I tell you, always shrink to fit. No, Make it fit, dude. What are you doing? Oh my gosh. Seriously, now that I have the AIs that can help me code, I swear to goodness gracious, I'm going to rewrite all the world's code. I can't believe how bad the majority of these tools are. I don't understand why software sucks so much. It doesn't have to. It's not that hard. But I realized, like, all false humility aside, there are a lot of people out there that are coders and engineers, and they're not. And then there's those of us out there that there are the select few ballers that legit are 1000x what everybody else is. And it's mostly just because we really, really care. It's not so much that, like Tim Matson, for example, is just a legit baller. It's not that Tim Matson is so much smarter than everybody else. It's just that he really cares. And so when he sits down to code stuff, like it's like gold and platinum and magic coming from his fingertips. And that's what happens when you get people that are behind the steering wheel that actually care versus people, for F's sake, this thing keeps, just because the resolution is different, it's completely incompatible with understanding the change of screens. Anyway, this was the first incarnation of the dashboard before I leveled it up to what you're seeing over here. This is what it looked like, Chris, when it was Python. And this is the first, before it had the ANSI coloring stuff figured out. 5 hours. 5 hours. It went from this to this. This guy. And this is not like vibe coded. I would call this collab coded, because I can explain how exactly I did it. And in order to do it, yeah, Matt, I don't think so. I think that you are 1000x engineer and now you're a 1,000,000x architect. Trust me. It's that now you're a maestro. You are orchestrating. And the engineers are the little bots. That's the way to think about it. Because the truth is, you still need all of that expertise in order to do the crazy ass things that I'm doing with this. Because it gets stuck. And if you aren't a superstar and understand how all this stuff works, it's stuck and it can't get unstuck. So the key thing is literally just being able to say, I know what's getting you stuck, and I can give you one sentence that's going to get you unstuck. But that one sentence is the difference between it going off the rails and ending up completely worthless versus getting it back on track and ending up with, like, again, guys, this thing that you're looking at here, I'm just going to make it small so even the IGers can see it. This thing, I built this from scratch, from nothing to, this is a legit app that is reading in data. Some of this is hard-coded just because I couldn't get the actual plugins. So, but it is actually pulling in live data from YouTube. It's pulling in live data from Discord. IG, you have to pay $100 a month or some nonsense to be able to call the APIs. I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to hard code it. It's not that I couldn't do it. I was like, I'm not going to pay $100 a month simply so I can read a number. What I'll do is I'll build a miner that will scrub the Goju Tech Talk IG page, and then I'll pull the follower count, and then it'll get it that way, if IG wants to be stupid about this. All of this stuff here, all of this is pulled in live data that it's lifting from my machine. All of this right here, this is all pulled in data that's live. This is data that is synthesized from all of the things that I'm working on. And so this is AI generated to tell me basically the high level things that I need to do. This part, I give it directly. So the Scratchpad, I'm actually supplying it saying, these are the things that I need to do. And part of that is coming from all this, but I need this essentially to keep me on track to know all the things that I'm working on. Right. This is more just information. I'm gonna clean this up and probably add a second box and column over here right now. This data is again fully auto-generated. It's basically the live stream that we did last night. I already pushed in post-production the converted version, but then it did cuts, 4 different cut videos. And so it's telling me that like, hey, bro, you have these sitting and waiting. You should need to publish these to YouTube. And then this is like the backlog of splits that I haven't pushed that it's like yelling at me about because, and by the way, I just started doing the auto splits just little bit ago. So it says that it's 55 days old, but really it's like 2 days old. Ursina, what's up? We were told we couldn't start the party until you arrived. So I think you should talk about TUI for people watching this. Yeah. By the way, I'm going to start over. Mostly I was just giving all of this background just to loop you in, Chris. On this is we're going to spend hours on today's stream walking everybody through how I built this. Because I think a lot of people might not know how to do like collab coding where you can really unlock like the AIs. But basically what I'm trying to get across is I built this entire app that is pulling from live data from a bunch of different sources that has essentially a lot of value, at least a lot of value to me, in about 4 hours. And that's 4 hours of me also kind of messing around, talking on Discord, chatting on Signal, wrestling with the dog, all this stuff. And anybody can do this. Anybody can take, if you use the right AI, I think probably maybe only Claude is capable of doing this today. I think the other ones can get you approximately close, but it's probably not going to level you up this much. But this is the kind of stuff when you really start to master the AIs, you can be building apps like this fast. Now, just to be clear, I've been doing this whole software thing for a while, and so I kind of am familiar with the potholes and the sticking points that you are going to run into, so then I can quickly navigate around those or get out of them, those potholes. But basically, me and Claude, really Claude, wrote about 3,000 lines of code that are, it's not S tier quality, but it's A tier, I think. And it did require some finagling. It required some pushback from me on guidance because it was trying to do some things pretty stupidly. And these are the gotchas. These are the pieces that if you're an expert in software, and in particular you're an expert in architecture, then you'll be able to quickly like get it realigned. If you're not, these are the parts that, like, if you don't know about software engineering and you're not familiar with how to build modular components and things like that, this is the stuff that may be a little bit harder. But just to be clear, it's very easy to learn these things. And my goal is to start to teach those of you that are super smart people and you're really eager to use AI, and you can get the AIs and you can start to interface with them, but you just are not like an expert in code. That's okay. You don't really need to be an expert in code. All you really need is you just need the ability to think critically and then understand what you're building in a very high level componentized way. That's it. That's the key thing that you need to be able to do. And I want to walk through how I did this step by step so everybody can understand. And literally, I was working with nothing. I had 0 lines of code. There was no code. There was just data. And the data wasn't even that well organized. And I basically got to the point this morning where I said, you know, I'm too disorganized. I've got to be more organized because I have just too many things going on. So I'm like, today's the day I'm going to build a dashboard. And so I sat down with Claude and I was like, let's do this. And then after we sat down and we started rocking, then this is what we ended up with. And it wasn't, I was maybe an hour into it, and then Chris, that's awesome, man. I don't even know how you're doing these gifted memberships, bro, but you are amazing, brother. But basically, I'm rocking this out with this dashboard, and then Chris pings me on Discord, and he says, what does he say? Chris says this. He says, like, bro, you've got to check out, I'm scrolling up to find it. Chris says, yo, get your bot to use the following lib to create the TUI, the TU, text user interface. I don't actually know. Is that what that stands for? Am I muted? No, I'm not muted. Okay. Awesome. Anyway, so he says get Charm. And I know nothing about Charm. Never heard of it before. But I start looking at it, and then I start talking to Claude, and Claude's like, no way, it's going to take a week for us to rewrite this Python code that we did in like 30 minutes, to rewrite this in Golang, and it's not worth the effort and all this. And I was like, Claude, shut the F up, bro. Yeah, text interface. I was like, Claude, just shut up. We're going to do it, and I'm going to guide you through this. And we literally had the Python code transpiled to Go, integrated with Charm in like an hour and a half. It's like hour and a half. And then we have just continued to level this up, right? Oh, let me show you what Chris is talking about. So it's basically it's a text user interface, but I was just using ASCII. It was just all ASCII with ANSI color codes, and then Chris was like, "Bro, you can just level this up with Charm." And so, and one of the big reasons why I wanted to I like agreed with this is, well, the first thing is Chris knows what he's talking about. So if Chris gives me a suggestion, I'm going to listen. And then the second thing is, once I saw that it was written all in Go over Python, like, again, no disrespect to Python. Python's super cool. And I think it's a great thing to fiddle around in, especially if you want to do rapid prototyping. But eventually my goal with the dashboard is this thing's going to be screaming fast. It's got to be fast, because I'm going to be pulling live data from probably 100 different sources. I don't know, maybe every second, right? This, what you're seeing over with the current implementation, this is just the beginning. And while Python has benefits in that you can do auto updates to the code because of the dynamic nature of it, because it's a fully scripted language, you lose the performance benefits that you get from near systems languages. And while I would consider Go like a true systems language, it kind of sits between the boundary between a true systems language and an interpreted language. It's kind of like in the space of Java, except in my mind, it's just way cooler than Java. That it's still managed to the best of my understanding, but it's more C++-ish. I know they said they basically derived it on off of C, but in my mind, it's actually a derivation of C++, because whether they call them classes or not, those interfaces, I think, in Go are essentially the concept of the way I think about object-oriented programming. Not object-oriented programming in terms of inheritance and inheritance trees, because that's mostly bogus in my mind. I think inheritance trees are maybe one of the worst ideas of object-oriented programming. I think maybe 2 levels of an inheritance tree is generally as far as you ever want to go. And doing things like virtual inheritance and all of this like mumbo jumbo, I don't think that's the true power of it. True power of OO, in my mind, are essentially 2 main things. First, data encapsulation. Data encapsulation is wildly powerful. In my, yeah, 100%. Inheritance by composition. So essentially, it's the composition that you can like bring together into the thing through like aggregation, right? That's the first piece, is the data encapsulation. The second piece is interfaces. Interfaces. Drive all communication through contracts that are interfaces, because this makes a promise. It makes a promise between the producer and the consumer, and then once the promise is established, nobody can break it. The producer is not allowed to break it, because this is what you said you would provide. And then the consumer knows, this is all I get, and I have to make it work like this. This is beautiful, because it hides the implementation details, so the producer can change the implementation to whatever they want, as long as they continue to fulfill the promise, which is that interface, which is that contract. And Go comes from C++ and a little whiskey. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, we're going to get into all this stuff. This is literally the preamble for this stream. So we haven't even really begun. I just wanted to mention this so you guys could get a sense of what I've been hacking on today. And this is not vibe coded. So I have been looking at the code. I still haven't done like a deep pass on it. So this is not vibe coding. This is collab coding. And the thing that I built is, in my mind, like I am building essentially a enterprise grade dashboard. This thing is going to grow from, right now it's 3,000 lines of code. Over the next month, this thing is probably going to grow to 30, 50, 100,000 lines of code. Because I'm going to compartmentalize all the code. I'm going to build the components the right way. I'm going to like drive the actual engineering. I'm going to continue to have oversight in the way that it's developing these components. And because of that, it's not going to be spaghetti code. I'm going to continue to refactor every day to keep things low overhead, so it stays low complexity, and then it'll continue to add more and more and more and more. And so what we have right now, there's actually 2 screens. There's this screen, but there's another screen I built that's private just for me, that I can access, that I can't show live. But I want to get into how everybody can build apps like this. Everybody can. Like you don't need to know anything about software development. Okay, I take that back. You don't need to know anything about code, but I do need to teach you some things about software development. The essentially how to think about software in terms of components. This is like the most important thing. And then to drive the AI so they build the components the right way. And it's very easy to check. It doesn't require a PhD or anything. But if you miss these things, then you'll end up with a vibe coded solution. And then you're going to be in a spot where you're building something that maybe looks pretty, but it's completely unmaintainable. Okay, with that said, I'm going to take a quick 2-3 minute break. I encourage all of you guys to, I need to refresh my soda, my ice, and all that, and get your popcorn, you know, do all the stuff that you need to do because it's going to get wacky in here. The list of things that we're going to get into today. It's on my list. It's on my dashboard. This is beautiful. This is part of the reason why I wanted to build this before I started the live stream is this is the dashboard that's going to tell us what we're talking about for every one of these streams. So right here, this is what we're going to cover in today's stream. We'll go over MIT's top 10 things that matter in AI, just so you can see a teaser of what this looks like. That is what we're talking about here. Talking about this thing. 10 things that matter in AI right now. When did this come out? This came out, I don't know, I think I got the email about it last night. Then I'm going to quickly talk about my new lizard friend who's joined the family, kind of as a nice little technical break. And I think you guys will all be highly amused by the story. It might actually be for some of you the highlight of this stream. And then we're going to get into how I built this dashboard and how all of you can build similar things. As long as you can write. Yep, and major shout out to Chris, right? Chris gets major shout out because he gave me some feedback on integrating this with Charm. And I got to tell you, once I switched over, and I think I'm just scratching the surface with using some of the Charm stuff, but this is way better than just where I was with Python. And so you can see, you can't see it, but this is in Go now. All right, so with that said, let's take a quick 2-3 minutes and we'll be back and get wacky. Almost ready. Alrighty. Here we go. We're about ready to get into some super wacky stuff. I, of course, need my background music. Just because, you know, I'm me. And I'm a little off the reservation. We need to change this thing. Just as an aside, if you guys haven't seen this show called Your Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV, thanks, brother. I strongly suggest it. It is unusually painful, but there's a certain level of honesty to it that I don't know, I really like. And every day, it's been a while, brother. Yeah, thank you very much. We're actually going to talk about this text user interface guy. That's going to be one of the main points of conversation in today's live stream, which I built from scratch this morning in about 3 or 4 hours, including actually figuring out the design. And I mean, I gotta be honest with you, I didn't even know what it was I was actually building. I just knew that I needed a dashboard to keep me on track because there's just too much stuff going on. There has never been a better show after Baywatch. Bro. That's sweet, man. We gotta chat. We gotta talk offline about your life choices and things. No, I'm just messing with you. Everybody everybody has their own taste in stuff. Who's to say that Chris has left the reservation like I have? Nobody's saying that. Hold on, I just need to get the right background thing on this this screen. And by the way, every day, where the heck have you been, brother? We've missed you. It's been a month or so. Feels like it's been longer. Here we go. This is the one I wanted. I think. Boy, that's still bright. Yikes. It's just the brightness on my screen. Like I know that I'm too dark without some background light, but trying to navigate this so I get the background light where it's making things brighter, but it's also not making me blind. This is what I really... It's a Goldilocks problem. And this ridiculous TV does not want to let me mess with this. Hold on, what if I press this button? Oh, that might do it. It might. Let's see. I'm telling you, like, YouTube just decides on its own what it's going to give you results for. You could literally tell it, okay, that's still a little obnoxious. All settings. Picture. This is the story of my life, guys. All right, that's not... I can live with that, if you guys can live with that. But mostly tuning into the VODs. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right, and I almost have a system now to get the live streams to VODs. Actually, that's one of the things that you're seeing on my dashboard is the dashboard is showing you some of the streams that I'm having it cut up for me. And you can see in that bottom, so the bottom section here of this dashboard are actually all about me using a new process that's carving up the live streams or videos to essentially compress them and be much more hard-hitting. And it does it in an automated way. And then from there, I can upload those as individual VODs. So, for example, this one, I'm going to make this like a little bit bigger. So these ones down here, you can see in the live in honesty in that single VOD, it cut that up into 2 different videos and so on and so forth. That's basically what it's showing you on these 2 different videos. I'm not sure what these SEO things mean. It's got a mind of its own. But these are all splits that it's done on videos I haven't uploaded. So basically, we've got a queue of 10 plus videos that are just waiting for me to upload as now that I have the process in place. So, and then this is it yelling at me saying, "What are you doing, bro? What guy, my guy, what do you spit?" This is almost 60 days old here, 2 months. Get this pushed out to your people. So anyway, all right. Yeah, this is. I'm literally Casper the Ghost here. This is still a little too much. And because I'm using, what am I using? Yeah, I think it's a Samsung screen in the background. Samsung has decided to make it essentially impossible for you to fiddle with the TV settings. I don't know if you guys have experienced this too. Actually, this would be like a fun little first poll of the evening. Let's start with this simple question. If you have owned or you currently own a Samsung, Jasenia, yo, we just went live 30 minutes ago, so you haven't missed much. Mostly it's preamble. We're working our way up to the real content. Chris, oh my gosh, it's going to get so much worse than what you may not realize. Maybe you know about it, but maybe you don't. I didn't know about it at first, but I know now. And I'm about ready to drop some hard truths on you about the Samsung UI on your TV. Specific to your TV. I think also with your monitor. Okay, so question number 1. Drop in the chat 0 if you have owned or you currently own a Samsung TV or monitor. 1. 0. Drop a 0 if you currently have a Samsung TV or monitor, or you have owned one in the past, and drop a 1 in the chat if you haven't. So if you've never owned a Samsung TV or monitor, drop a 1, but if you have, drop a 0. Please. And I know that there's at least 20 of you lurking. I know there's at least 25 of you lurking. Now, I don't expect all of you to chime on in, but this is going to be a fun little experiment, I promise. You're going to love the outcome here. And it might be surprising. Ursina, I don't believe you. Ursina, you can't... Ursina, we love you, okay? But you can't have a 0 if Chris... You can't have a 1 if Chris has a 0. Okay, that's not true. Actually, if Chris owned that stuff before you were together... Yeah, okay, that's fair. But now since you guys are like a thing, if Chris owns it, just by transitivity... understanding the rules of the universe, you actually own it. Not Chris, because everything that Chris owns, you own. I'm mostly just playing right now. I'm not trying to get into any kind of trouble here. Okay. Ricardo, sure, yeah. Drop a link. Oh, it's this McNest IO. Hold on, let's see if I can copy this in. Hold on, I'm gonna do this off to the side, because as much as I love you being on the stream, Ricardo, I gotta make sure that we're not gonna get ourselves into any trouble here by going to what you've built. Is this yours, Ricardo, what I'm looking at? You don't have TV anymore? Oh, that is awesome. I love that. Troy. I don't watch TV from like broadcast TV, but I do watch it on like Netflix and Apple TV and all that stuff. But the traditional network television stuff, I don't watch that anymore. Okay, I'm just dimming this a little bit so I can have white things on my screen and not go blind. Okay, so I'm seeing, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna show your MCP Nest IO project in just a second. Love your website, by the way. This is looking pretty cool. I want to warn all the Jeters. I'm going to show you guys what Ricardo has built. I haven't vetted this, but I want to like support the Jeters. So I'm going to show you guys what his thing is. Keep in mind, I haven't used this. And so while I think Ricardo is probably an upstanding individual, and this is not a honeypot or anything like that, consider it at your own risk that we probably need to send this through a proper technical vetting. If you're a newbie, like if you're not a super expert, and I don't mean that in an insulting way, like you don't have a PhD in computer science, maybe don't use this just yet until some of the experts check it out and like assess its viability. Those experts being, you know, like Chris or Sean or Andrew or Colin and the like. But yeah, I mean, this is like minimally, this is a very nice looking landing page. I think this is pretty cool. Okay, so back to the Samsung TVs and monitors. Oh, I see, and for IG, come on IG, you guys can participate. Or I know some of you are there. if you have owned or currently own a Samsung TV, drop a 0 in the chat. And if you have not ever owned a Samsung TV or monitor, drop a 1. But overall, we're seeing there's a couple 1s in there. There's actually more, to be honest, there's more 1s than I expected. I thought everybody was doing like the Samsung thing. Because Samsung, I mean, I realized that the TVs were dominated for a long time by Sony. And the truth is, Sony TVs, I think, are absolutely the way to go. They cost a little bit more money, so you do spend more getting them. But the screen quality is phenomenal. The other big thing with Sony TVs, at least this has been my experience, is the quality control. And I'm not just talking about delivering you a TV and monitor that works right out of the box. That's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you use the TV or the monitor, and in 6 months, it doesn't just crap out on you. Which Samsung TVs and monitors have, at least with me, done in perpetuity. 6 to 12 months into it, the Samsung TVs, without anything that I'm doing, just suddenly decide to stop working, which is very frustrating, especially if you're paying like a reasonable amount of money and it just so happens that you now have fallen out of at least the 90-day warranty. And Project Vime, no, the microwave doesn't count. But I will tell you, do you have one of those stainless steel Samsung microwaves? Because I've owned one of those. Those are gorgeous. I mean, like, even if the microwave itself doesn't work, it's so good looking that just having it in your kitchen, I feel like you've leveled yourself up quite a bit. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so you just built it live at 21 days. That's awesome, man. Absolutely. Ricardo, now that it's on the stream and this is recorded and this is probably going to go into the VOD, I can all but guarantee you thousands of people, if not tens of thousands of people, maybe if we're lucky and we talk about something really interesting, maybe hundreds of thousands of people will see your website. So, and by the way, Ricardo, since you seem to be like a serious developer, or at least you're vibe coding your way there, you might enjoy our Discord. We've got, at least according to my dashboard, what does my dashboard have to say about this? My dashboard says that, did I break my dashboard? No, I think I've just, oh, I think I went too big. By the way, this is a major life. There's dozens of us. There's dozens. There are dozens of us. Just ignore this number right here for the YouTube. But yes, on the Discord, there are dozens of us. Right? Yeah. Notice that like the funnel works like this. This is sort of like the peripheral. This is more people that are a little bit more locked, and this is like the diehard area. So it's like an order of magnitude smaller each level, but once you get to this level, this is like the people that are kind of locked. And if this is working correctly, which I think it might not be, what should be going on here is there are 24 people online and it's not refreshing it properly. So clearly I got a hack on the code, because I think, oh, does it actually, do we actually have 24 people online right now? 18. I can't tell. There's 18 online. There's 3 at the sub. Like, I don't know. It's approximately close. Anyway, back to the Samsung issue. Here's something I recently learned with Samsung, which is a royal pain, and it's this. It's that if you have a Samsung TV or monitor, 1000% Colin, it's all about iterative refinement. If you guys would have seen what it looked like this morning, it was nothing, and now we have something. But if you have a Samsung TV or monitor, one of the things you may not realize is that you can fiddle with the settings all you want, and you cannot control that device. You cannot. There are hard-coded behaviors of all Samsung monitors and TVs that it doesn't matter what you set it to, what it even allows you to set it to, and it will still not do those things. Let me give you an example. Samsung monitors, at least as I understand it today, will auto dim themselves after, I think, 2 minutes of inactivity for your computer. Okay, now here's a really interesting thing about this. What does inactivity mean? Samsung defines that. Now, why would this be annoying? Well, imagine that you're using your monitor to read things, where you just have it on your screen and you're just reading it and you're not interacting with it, and then it auto dims. There is no way to turn this off. You can't turn it off. You can't go into the settings. You can fiddle with the settings and have it actually change, but it's not going to change. The only way that you can actually go in and change this is if you get a special remote. You have to buy this special, you have to buy a special remote that's like a black market remote. I'm not making this up. You can Google this afterwards because I did this. That comes directly from Samsung, and then you enter in a special code with this remote, and it gets you into developer mode or debug mode with the monitor or the TV. Then you can directly access these manufacturer settings. But if you get one of the settings wrong, you can brick the whole device. Now, why is it that you wouldn't be able to just change it? So, here's a very simple question to Samsung in general. Samsung, I pray to God you watch this VOD and think about this very deeply. Why couldn't you make it just a simple thing like, instead of the auto dim being burned in where it happens exactly when you think is the right time, because somehow you've decided 120 seconds is the number and you've just mandated this through your dictatorship to all of us, why couldn't you have just made it a setting where we could change it? For example, couldn't you set it up so the auto dim doesn't kick in until, let's say, 60 minutes or 2 hours? Or at least give us the option to enter in something that's not 120 seconds? There are many cases where I have multiple monitors running, and I suspect lots of hardcore technologists do, where, yeah, man, I get it, you're trying to protect the TV and all of that good stuff, but when you force your dictatorship on us because you suddenly know better than we do, it's not great. And we're going to stop buying your shit if you do that. Which is exactly why I am no longer using Samsung monitors. Samsung monitors are gone. There is still one Samsung thing in the background, but the moment that this guy craps out on me, that's going to be replaced by a Sony. The things that I have in front of me now are... What is this thing? Hold on, I want to find the manufacturer. It's not Samsung, I can tell you that much. Oh, I think if I right click on this, it might tell me. Hold on. How about this? Advanced display. It's Ultra Gear. Ultra Gear. I have 2 wrapped Ultra Gear monitors. And part of the reason why I'm no longer using the Samsung monitors is after 3 of them crapped out on me, just decided to just stop working, I decided to no longer continue the stream of money to Samsung because the quality control and Samsung used to not be like this. They used to not force this ridiculousness on us. You used to be able to actually choose and set the things. And for example, if somebody wants to risk the chance of burn-in, right? Because that's ultimately like what Samsung's trying to prevent, is they're trying to prevent burn-in. But if somebody wants to burn in their screen and destroy their monitor because they want the auto dimming off, let them do it, right? That's their choice. And if your monitor can't handle not burning in when you're doing like an LED or something that's more forward, like an LCD. Yeah, I think it's like an LED over the old school LCDs. Like the problem of burn-in supposedly has gone away. It used to be a major issue, but our modern monitors don't have that. So if your monitors aren't good enough to not get burned in from them having them be on maximum brightness, that's a you problem. That's not an us problem. So I'm sorry, Samsung, until you fix your stuff, you're not going to get any love from GTT, and maybe Samsung probably doesn't even care, but yeah, maybe I'm going to give a little bit of a jab here. There are certain really big tech companies that wanted to fund Murley and that have continued to try to actually get on as a sponsor for GTT. And I have this whole integrity thing, right? And so certain companies, I just won't, I won't let them invest in the ventures that I'm doing, and I won't sponsor them on our channels. And so minimally, there is actual blowback. It's probably inconsequential to the Samsung mothership today, but I'll tell you, if things continue on the trajectory that they are, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they might care. I don't know. We'll see. But for everybody that's on GTT right now, it's my strong recommendation that you do not get a Samsung monitor or TV because of the quality issues that they're having and the fact that they will not let you control the settings no matter what you do. They literally will. They'll even sometimes give you the head fake and tell you, yeah, the brightness is turned all the way down. And it's actually not. It's just they're telling you that it is, but it can go significantly lower. So that's the end of my yeah. And what's crazy too is like I want to be clear, this isn't like a grudge thing. It's not like this is I'm infinitely pissed. It's more just that if you guys are building technology that sucks, we're just not going to use your sucky technology. You just need to stop making sucky tech. And the moment you stop using sucky tech, you stop building like terrible technology, we'll absolutely consider it. Just stop being lazy and making bad decisions, right? Like for example, in my Sony phone, right, like this guy, and I am a little bit of a Sony fanboy. This is, I love this thing. This is like the candy bar type of Sony phone. This is like full professional. This thing can actually shoot, it can shoot, record video in 4K, which a lot of people think, okay, that's overkill for a phone. Why do you need 4K recording on a phone? Well, if you're recording GTT videos on it, because I'm not going to watch the 4K video on the phone. I'm just going to push it to YouTube or whatever, right? Anyway, these guys, while again, Sony's not perfect, you can actually fiddle with the settings. And it's not exactly what I want it to be, but when I go to things like the screen timeout, I can actually set this thing. Let's look at this live together. And by the way, this phone, since we're talking tech, this phone that I have, this is, let me actually look it up. This is a few years old, but if you are a hardcore phone person, this is a Sony Xperia XQ AQ62. Let me drop this in the chat just so you guys have this. I wanna rabbit hole for a second. This is Sony Xperia XQ AQ62. I've had this phone for 3 years, maybe 4 years. And there's something, yeah, I actually I have 2 Asus ROG phones, and those are also legit. They're really great if you want to play games and stuff, and I think they can do like 120 hertz, and it's really amazing stuff. So what makes this phone, I think, super special, at least for my use, is there's at least 3-4 things that make it super special. The first is its form factor, right? So this, as far as like watching movies, this goes full. It's beyond 16. What is it? 16:9. This is like the actual legit theater letterbox or whatever they call it. So if you're on a flight, what's my password? Sweet, bro. Yeah. Your hacker social engineering just, your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me. I was going to give you a really bad answer, but then I realized we're live. So that's awesome. I think like if you're on a flight and you want to get like the full screen experience, I use this little doohickey in the back. And then what I do is I attach it to the top of my chair in front of me. It sits like that. This thing locks in. And you can fiddle this around and pull it down like this, right? So this thing essentially locks in on the top section of the chair in front of you, and then it sits in place. And then you've got this, what is it, 18:10 or something setup. So that's maybe the first piece. Second piece, and this is probably not a big deal to a lot of people, but big deal to me, that is a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So if you love wired headphones, you still have wired headphone capability. I love that. Another thing that makes this incredible, I mean, there's actually a bunch of stuff, but it has a case built into it. So this is a legit case. It's kind of all that you need. You don't need to get an attached thing. It makes it like slightly thicker, but it's going to be much slimmer, I think, than you would need. Yeah. And for all of you that think it's okay to just get rid of the headphone jack, let me tell you a couple reasons why it's not super great to get rid of it. First of all, as any audiophile knows, wired headphones have better fidelity than any wireless headphone that exists in the world. This is just a fact, right? Now, it's not the case that that's always going to be true. It could be that 10 years from now, we finally get Bluetooth to where it's as good fidelity as wired. But sometimes when you really want to level yourself up to the most incredible listening fidelity that you can have. Yeah, I do actually have some wired headphones. And some of the headphones that I have are both wireless and wired. So they play in wireless mode when uh, when you want to be wireless, but then they can be wired when you want them to be wired. The other big thing that can be important, but mostly this is a reliability thing, is wired connections don't die. I know, this is shocking, right? And then you might be saying, Goju, I don't care. Like, what does that matter? Well, you know what? You probably will care if you happen to be giving a talk to 100 people and your wireless headphones die and you no longer can hear the stuff, or suddenly you're cut off. Or you may notice that a lot of streamers, influencers that are like the super serious ones, like the mega content creators, they tend to be wearing wired headphones. That's largely for the fact that they can continue to essentially do their stream for any period of time and not worry about things like battery life. They don't have to worry about, did they charge this? Did it charge correctly? All this stuff. It essentially removes one more piece of the puzzle that can go wrong. And so this thing matters when you're in any of these corner cases. That you can be on a flight and you don't have to, oh shoot, my wireless headphones, they died. Cool, just plug it in and you're golden. The last thing that I want to share that just makes this like legitimately one of the best phones that I've ever had, the battery life on this is one of the best battery lives I've ever seen. This phone legitimately will last 10 plus hours in heavy use. 10 hours. It takes a while to charge, full charge, but you can literally get on an international flight from, I don't know, San Francisco all the way to Sydney, Australia, and be playing movies or video games or whatever you want without any power, and this baby will take you all the way through it. It is incredible. So if you need something where the battery life just needs to be maybe the best that it can be, you're going to go camping, and you might be out camping for 3 days, and you need to be light so you don't pack all the extra power stuff, or you just want a backup. Like this thing I think can last in standby mode with like a low power draw with all the wireless off, probably for a month. It is insane. So this is essentially my backup phone. My primary phone is my Fold, but I can't say enough about this thing. This is the phone that I use for all my exercise, all the stuff. That's basically my fallback. I actually used to do the recordings for GTT on this phone. That I would feed the video through this into the computer, and it would do the 4K recording. So, and now the only thing that's different is rather than using my Sony phone to record the streams, now I use my Sony camera that's wired to do the streams. What's the takeaway of this? Sony dominates when it comes to things related to video recordings. They're, in my mind, like top quality. All right. I think we've sufficiently beaten that horse. Let's continue and see what's next on our list. We can talk about the dashboard, but I want to save this a little bit. There is our 10 things on the MIT list, which I'm super excited to get to. But I want to see if there's anything else. I feel like somebody might have been saying some stuff in the chat that I might have. That's awesome, Dat, about the Samsung oven with Wi-Fi. I think this whole... Actually, just to make this a little interactive, I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. How many of you have smart devices in your home or your apartment or whatever, and by smart device, what I mean is it's a traditional device, but there's some sort of Wi-Fi connection where you can interface with it. So this can be your thermostat, it can be your oven, it could be your sprinkler system, your alarm system, any of that stuff. If you have a smart home device in your house, drop a 0 in the chat. And if you have none, so nothing in your house is a smart device, so smart home device, drop a 1. 0 if you do have it, 1 if you don't have it. And I think some of the most common today are things like Nest thermostats. Let's rule out the routers, because almost everybody's routers are smart routers where you can connect to it through Wi-Fi. But sound systems, if you have entertainment systems that you can connect and control directly through your phone, I think that I would consider that smart device. Obviously ovens, and I think I've got in my kitchen I have an air fryer. I think I can Wi-Fi connect into my air fryer. I think it literally has an IP address. And just a little technical background on this. I think part of the reason why there was the shift from IPv4 to IPv6 was to support this explosion of every device in the world can have an IP address. I might be getting this slightly wrong, but I remember now what I want to talk about with this law of averages, because I saw Colin created a clip, and I wanted to try to clarify the law of averages point. I think when they were creating IPv4, they had set it up so there would be enough IP addresses so every single human being could have their own IP address and more. Something like this. Let's fact check me on this to see what the internet has to say. How many numbers are possible with IPv4? Okay, so it looks like it's, I mean, with a population of 8 billion, yeah, we don't have enough. But when they created IPv4, I don't think, hold on, let's look this up. Yeah, that makes sense, because it's 32-bit addressable, and it's unsigned, so yeah, it'd be 4.2 billion. Yeah, and if it was signed, it'd be 2.1 billion. When was IPv4, yeah, created? 1981, okay. What was the global population in 1981? All right, look, so they were close, right? I mean, it's close-ish, and 1980s 32-bit stuff was kind of pushing the boundaries, so I don't know that you can really ding them on that. Keep in mind, this is before the internet was even a thing, and they probably thought it was massive overkill having 4 billion, because one of the key things that those of us that are like the super nerds, which is probably many of you on GDT, is as you're going to build something that you want to scale massively, you're always concerned with spatial implications. Or this used to be a really important thing. And I do think that for people that are not concerned about spatial requirements, this is part of the enshittification of the world. I think this is why software runs slow. This is why apps that could be 2 megabytes in size end up being 200 megabytes. Is that people are like not paying enough attention to keeping things in a reasonable size. They're just kind of like, just make it enormous when it doesn't really need to be. Now, obviously, if you make it too small, you get into the space of IPv4 that needs to be replaced by IPv6 because we're running out of IP addresses. And is it IPv6 is just let's how many bytes is that? I want to say that it's 6 bytes, which is what the V stands for, but that seems strange, right? Like, wouldn't you think it'd be like 8 bytes? So the original is 32-bit, then there would be 64-bit, that would be plenty. But yeah, maybe it's 128-bit, and that's why it's 6. Let's do some digging and find out. What is the byte size of IPv6? 16 bytes. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, that does make sense. Okay. No, sorry. I'm working out the math in my head, trying to understand what these 4 and 6 mean. And so it is 2 to the 6th power. Two to the 7th power. Two to the 7th power. All right, we need to dig in this rabbit hole a little bit more. What does the 6 mean in IPv6? It's just version 6. So what happened with version 5? What happened with version 5 for IPv5? They just like, nah, we're going to pass on it. IPv5 never existed. What? What is going on here? Guys, this rabbit hole that we're going down is getting real wacky. Hold on, let's see what some of these numbers are. Okay, only a few of you guys answered. But this is getting so strange. All right, just connecting the weird dots that we're going down. Let's talk about this for a second. IPv5 never existed, right? The version number 5 was assigned to the experimental Internet Stream Protocol in 1979. But here's the part that's already just messing with my head. If this is accurate, it could very well be that Google is wrong. IPv4, if I'm remembering correctly, was released in 1981. So how is it that IPv5 existed before IPv4 was even published? Right? What am I missing here? Okay, hold on. What is Chris saying? It existed called ISP. Okay. Hold on. We've got some of these ST things. ST. Experimental status. Developed in the late 70s. Revised 1990. RFC 1190 as ST2. Okay, looks like it's saying a little bit of what you're saying. It was used for specialized real-time data streams rather than general networking. All right, is that matching what you're thinking, Chris? It was not released to the public. Yeah, so it sounds like this is snafu, that like Google's kind of making some stuff up. That it did exist, but here we go. This one. It was designed for voice and video streaming, not general internet traffic. and was eventually abandoned. Does that match with your intuition of what you are thinking? Okay. All right. So Chris is giving this his sign of approval, and this is now making a little bit more sense. So I feel like we've all learned a little bit and grown by doing a little bit of rabbit holing to try to understand what the heck was going on. I was getting thrown off because I was trying to figure out what the 6 stood for in relationship to the numbers. And so IPv4, I mean, the V does kind of give it away, but, you know, I don't necessarily trust that V always means version. I guess in this case it did. So Internet Protocol version 4, Internet Protocol version 7, super great. And sweet. Chris is dropping some gems of super agent things on us, which I'm not going to comment on purpose. But this is a great step forward for all of us with the internet. So if you're wondering about this thing, this migration from IPv4 to IPv6, now you kind of understand. It's really just a capacity thing. It's just that we need more numbers, and so there's a migration path, and that migration path is upgrading us to 128 bits, if I remember that correctly. Yeah, 128 bits, which is a lot of numbers. What is the maximum unsigned number of 128 bits? Is a lot. It's this number right here. I don't even know how to say this number, which is part of the reason why I didn't even try. It's big. That is 340 unidecaleon. Unidecaleon. Or something. Big number. So not thousands or millions or billions or trillions or quadrillions, but unidecaleons. Eons. Okay. Wonderful. Hopefully that's enough. And part of the reason for the shift to IPv6 is so everybody's refrigerator and their microwave and their phones and their vapors and all of these things can have IP addresses, and everything in the universe can communicate with each other. And that may feel like it's going to be invasion of privacy, and 100% it could be used that way. But it also means that these devices can communicate with each other, and you can create all these awesome smart houses. So this is a trade-off between capabilities and privacy, and I wouldn't even begin to pretend to have an answer on what is good or bad here, but rather that we now have the capability for every grain of sand, maybe, on the planet to have its own IP address. And we certainly don't have, like, the compute for all of that, but in 50 years, we probably will. So this is good forward thinking. It's hopefully future-proofing our internet. Oh, so the law of averages. I wanted to share something about this law of averages. And by the way, I'm not the knower of all things, so I'm probably going to get this wrong. Okay, what is the law of averages? In one of the prior videos, I was saying something like, you know, the hacks on Vercel were essentially an example of the law of averages. Now, a lot of people, I think, get this wrong, and it's entirely possible that I'm still using this wrong, but I want to kind of explain what I meant by this. What a lot of people, I think, will be arguing with the law of averages or the law of large numbers is that as you're doing something and an outcome is not being reached, that you will eventually get that outcome because of the law of averages. So you're rolling the dice. You've got a six-sided die, and you're rolling the dice, and the number 6 is not coming up, and you're like, law of averages, man. Eventually, that 6 has to come up. Well, that's not true. It's not true. Just because it's a six-sided die does not mean that eventually you'll roll a 6. It could be that that is just not going to happen, and these variables are independent from each other depending on how you're looking at them. So every time you roll the dice, it's a 1 in 6 chance that it's going to be this particular number. So then when you roll it the next time, it's still like a 1 in 6 chance, supposedly, unless it's, weighted, that's going to be this number. So it's not like there's rolling total where you haven't rolled 6, and so you're due the number 6. This is where I think people get it wrong in law of averages. But if you play it in reverse, it's my belief that it works, is that you can go through this stream of numbers, and then you roll a 6. Now, once you roll a 6, you play it backwards and say, look, that 6 is an example of the law of averages, is that eventually it was going to happen, and so it did. But you're not waiting for it to happen. You're just saying that if it happens, it is an example of getting the number in the distribution. So the point that I was trying to make with the Vercel example was this, is that there were all these cracks that were surfacing from all these different systems, and that kind of think of each of these different systems as a thin little sphere where there's one tiny crack in each one, and there's like 100 of these rolling dials all inside of each other. And each one of them have a single crack in them. As these dials move, there's one point where they're going to align where it's perfectly straight through to the center. It's kind of like dropping the bomb in the Death Star, where you got to go through all this stuff, and then there's going to be the exact moment where you can get it right through. What I was trying to explain is that the outcome of all those cracks is like an example of the law of averages, is that you and by the way, I'm still probably using this wrong, but I'm just trying to explain my thinking and explain how when you look at it in reverse as an outcome that you've already achieved, but it was super unlikely, you can start to talk about it. But when you try to play it forward as a probability that must arrive, that's where it's wrong, right? This is this idea, right? Such as assuming a coin must land on heads. It doesn't actually have to. There's no probability that actually is forecasting that it actually has to have this outcome. But when you look at it as a historical data analysis, I think it's easier to talk about it from this perspective. So hopefully that clarifies what I was talking about. I did want to mention this because I think that, yeah, wait, what are you guys talking about? If kids are playing a record, that's pretty. I would love for somebody to fill me in on what the chat is talking about here, about this record. You're talking about. I get it. Okay. Oh yeah, you guys have really gone off there. I'm telling you, GTT is getting so awesome that we're almost getting to the point where we have so many legit geniuses and hilarious people in the chat that all I need to do is just get the stream started, and I can just listen to you guys start talking about random stuff. Like getting a record to play itself in reverse. Okay, total tangent, but let's try to engage the chat again. There's this movie called Insidious. How many of you have seen the original movie, not the sequel that's coming out, the original movie Insidious? Drop a 0 in the chat. The original movie Insidious. In this movie. Is it this movie? Yeah, I think it's this movie. Okay, Chris has seen it. Dat's seen it. Troy's seen it. Okay, awesome. You guys are my kind of people. All right, so Insidious. There's a sequel that's coming out for Insidious. And when is this Insidious 2 movie release date? Oh, okay. Maybe it's the sequel. Oh, hold on. Is it the man? Okay. Hold on. Am I getting the name of this wrong? Okay. Upcoming horror movies 2026. I think it's Insidious, but I might be getting this wrong, guys. Okay. Upcoming horror. Here we go. Let's look at this. I'm pretty sure it's coming out this year. All right, hold on. Let's see if we can find this. I know a better way to search for this. Horror movie sequels coming out in 2020. I think it's 2026. No, okay. So it's not the it's not Insidious 2, it's Insidious whatever. It's this thing. Out of the further. All right. I've seen the trailer for this. At least me personally. This looks so freaking ridiculously scary. I cannot wait. The moment this thing comes out, I am going to be glued. These Insidious movies are dark. I mean, they are... I was actually going to go there next, Matt. You beat me to it. I want to... This is a perfect segue to this Backrooms movie. I can't show the trailers for any of these on GTT because we'll be in, whatever copyright violation. If you haven't seen the trailer for Backrooms, feel free. I won't even take it personally. If you mute me or jump away and watch the trailer for this right now, this is also on the list of I have to watch this movie. When is this coming out? This is already out? All right, here we go. Let's read a little bit about this. The Backrooms are a fictional location originating from a 2019 4chan thread, one of the best known examples of the liminal space aesthetic. The Backrooms are usually portrayed as an implausibly large extra dimensional expanse of empty rooms, accessed by exiting, no clipping out of reality. Internet users have expanded on the concept of the backrooms, introducing the concept such as levels, layers of the backrooms that are interconnected, and entities, hostile creatures that inhabit the space. In early 2022, American YouTuber Kane Parsons published the first installment of a series of backroom short films on YouTube. The viral videos have been credited with igniting a surge in backroom content and taking the concept to the mainstream. Parsons directed the film adaptation of this series produced by A24. Okay, I did not actually know that. But I'm super pumped to see this. Strongly recommend you check out the trailer. And I didn't realize that. Okay, it's not out yet, but it will be soon. Backrooms release date. All right, we've got to wait another month or so, but I'm so signed up. This is more than creepy. It's just so eerie. This is definitely my type of movie. But if you're easily scared, if you're easily freaked out by these things that are like supernatural, and they don't have like it doesn't have the Scream type of feel or the Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, where you can kind of laugh about it and be like, that wouldn't happen. But instead, you're kind of feeling like it's The Ring, where you're really scared to go outside because it feels so real. Like, this is at least the vibe that I'm getting from this movie. And I think I got a very similar vibe from Insidious. I think it was Insidious. Okay. I think we're almost through our backlog of content. And then we can start looking a little bit at this MIT top 10 list on AI things. But I want to take a quick meander through stuff. And for you IGers, you guys can continue to live in IG land. But if you want to hop over to YouTube, Twitch, or Kickland, you get a much bigger full screen experience. Chris only watches Fox and Friends. That's great. That's awesome, bro. I know he's joking here. I think he's joking. We already hit 100 messages on Restream. Good job, team. Keep chatting up a storm. That somehow, I think, actually affects the algorithm. I guess it kind of makes sense. What is this? The Dark Bite is the Dark Bite is quoting and clipping me on how to create software where you actually don't need to know anything about software. I think I was saying software engineering, but yes. Like, I do actually believe that the fundamentals of software development are being massively disruptive in real time as we're moving forward with AI development. And some of that I think is actually really good because I feel like software development was just happening too slow. That there were just It felt like there were very limited reasons for us to move so slowly. And I'm all about diligence. I think that's super helpful. But if you're if you're becoming hamstrung by this stuff where you could be having a cadence. I mean, I feel like that's kind of what agile software development was trying to do, is it was trying to essentially unlock the potential for software development, basically saying, look, this whole waterfall thing, I don't know why you guys have to do this so slowly. It can be just faster than this. And I think that that's absolutely right. I think maybe we've swung the pendulum a little bit too far, as we do. You know, it used to be neural networks are the worst. Don't use neural networks ever because they're so bad. To then suddenly like, hey, everybody, let's use neural networks, and neural networks are going to change everything in the world. Like, where's the middle ground? Like, can it be a little bit of this, but you know, again, it's a Goldilocks kind of problem, and thus the need to have a little bit of a sanity check with the pendulum. That we should use neural networks, and stochastic AIs are really good for certain things, but for all advancement of hard science, at least to the best of my knowledge, you really need deterministic elements. And it's not to say that you can't have stochastic elements. You should, right? Humans are stochastic machines. We're unpredictable. Even we don't know what we're going to do. And that's part of what makes us, I think, so entertaining and interesting, like even to each other, right? Maybe it's part of the reason why you dial into GTT is nobody knows what Goju is going to talk about, including Goju. I have no idea where this is going to go. Right, even with the 3 topics that I have on my list, the MIT 10 things, talk about my new lizard friend, and explain how I built the dashboard, we haven't talked about any of these things. Are we going to talk about these things? Maybe. Maybe not. We just don't know. So stochasticity is really awesome in certain cases. Yet determinism can be really helpful for other things. Like, for example, you're going to get on a plane and you need to fly somewhere, and you need to kind of know deterministically that that plane is going to take off and head to that direction, that it's going to leave within a pretty reasonable approximation of that departure time most of the time. And minimally, once it takes off, it's, unless it's extremely rare, like a 0.000 whatever 1% chance, it's actually going to fly to the destination that it's supposed to. This is what we get with deterministic systems. So you really want determinism in AI, and it is it is a falsehood that AIs are all stochastic. They're not. You can build deterministic AIs, and diff is an example of that. The only thing that's different about AIs that are deterministic versus heuristics that are deterministic is one simple thing. It's literally just comes down to one thing. The deterministic heuristics are manually developed through a collection of knowledge that tells you the number of steps that you're going to take are going to lead you to this deterministic outcome. A deterministic AI is not a human learned set of steps. It is an AI learned algorithm that is also going to give you that deterministic outcome. So the only thing really that's changing is just the source of truth. The source of truth for human-created heuristics comes from a collection of human knowledge. The AI learned determinism is coming from also from a collection of knowledge, but it is the data sets that they're learned on. That's it. That's the only difference. In all other aspects, they're essentially identical. And so, of course, you can build a deterministic AI, right? You just make it deterministic as soon as you learn from the data. You can also make it stochastic, but you can also make stochastic heuristics, right? Like a fuzzy logic type of system that is a heuristic, but it has a certain amount of variability. That is an example of a heuristic that is human created to follow these rules, but it has stochasticity in it or variability in it based on the amount of fuzzing. So I think a lot of people get this wrong, and part of that, the reason why people get this wrong is that the internet is wrong about some of this stuff. And it gets propagated. And so, like, literally for a very long time, the internet was saying things like neural networks are deterministic systems. They are not. They're not deterministic. They are stochastic. And that's for a bazillion reasons. It has nothing to do with inference and the temperature being turned down to zero. It has to do with the fact that the initial neurons must be initialized to non-identical floating point numbers to ensure convergence properties as you train them. It must. And if you don't initialize it to quasi-random floating point numbers for the weights, which are essentially the neurons, you lose significant probability of convergence, meaning it's significantly less likely that it will learn the pattern of the thing that you're trying to train it on. It's a core property. But that's just for neural networks. There's other systems that can be completely deterministic that can still learn on that data. And an example of that is logistic or linear regression. Both of those machine learning techniques are completely deterministic. Okay, so that's a little bit of a side rant. And I think the future is actually hybrid, right? The way I see it for the future of these AIs is there are moments when you want determinism, and the determinism should be built at the foundational layer. It's the substrate at the bottom, kind of like the foundation of your house. And then layers on top of it should be stochastic, where you want random variability, you want creativity, you want things to be unusual. And then you can check to see if that stochasticity is acceptable within the parameters of the deterministic AI that sits underneath it. That's, at least in my mind, how you should build these things. And in some ways, a lot of the systems that we have today are just that. For example, go back to the airplane flight. The airline system is run with the promise of determinism, yet they're still stochastic. How are they stochastic? Well, they don't always leave on time. Sometimes you have to switch planes. Sometimes there's malfunctions and the flight will get canceled, right? There's a whole bunch of variability, and so they're not 100% deterministic. They just function in the space of a deterministic promise that is often violated, and it's just a question of how much it's violated and how much of that violation is acceptable. Oftentimes, a small amount of deviation from the deterministic promise is okay. The flight's supposed to leave at 9 a.m. It actually departs at 9:15 a.m. People are a little annoyed, but then they fly a little bit faster, which, by the way, they almost always can do, but they don't do because they're trying to min-max it and preserve as much fuel as possible. And there's a specific speed that they can do this with commercial airlines that's going to be essentially this optimal kind of Goldilocks space. But when they're 15 minutes behind, all they really need to do, in most cases, is just speed up the air travel. And in many cases, that's exactly what they do. Which is why when you depart 15 minutes late, and then they're like, hey, we're about to land, and you're like, whoa, I thought we were like 30 minutes more to flying time. It's like, no, they just took you there faster. And they didn't tell you because there are some issues that they might have had happen, and so they don't want to like give false promises. And instead, it's only generally like right before they're going to land where they're like, oh, hey, we're 15 minutes early. Look, we made up for all the time. Please fly our airline again. Under promise, over deliver. Under commit, over deliver. It's like, it's a generally, I think, a pretty reasonable practice for these things. I actually absolutely love how you guys light up the chat. I mean, it's super fantastic. Dragon Spark is telling us that we should check out Kane Pickles. Excuse me, I can't talk. Kane Pixels YouTube videos for the backroom videos. Let's take a look at this real quick. Oh, I better close that. And this one. It was Kane Pixels Backroom YouTube. Is it this? Yeah. All right, cool. Now, as is always sort of the rule, we cannot really watch these videos just for terms of service nonsense. But after the stream, I'm going to watch some of these. So you may want to check this out if you like scary stuff. And even better, if you like scary stuff, but your partner doesn't, is that you can like trick them into it, and then they get totally freaked out, and you're guaranteed to have a sleeping partner for at least the next week or so, if they don't immediately break up with you. I mean, again, your call. Sorry, I think I saw a Goju in here. Did I? Yes, Goju, the first video is so dope. Oh, awesome. You're talking about the Kane Pixels videos? And thanks, Dragon Spark. Appreciate it. Yeah, guys, these types of things totally freak me out. And I love being freaked out. I mean, if I start getting too freaked out, I just grab the dog. And the dog is super happy about it because the dog wants the snuggles. And then I've got something to protect me from the impending doom and the monsters that are coming for me. Hold on, I want to switch over here to our Discord just to see if anything... Okay, did we get another person to join? Oh, it looks like we got a few more people that hopped in from the live stream. Sweet, let me drop the Discord one more time for any of you that enjoy the channel. And I strongly recommend the Discord because it's basically like what you're hearing right now, except it's just going 24/7. And there's so many smart people that just love talking about technology and this type of nerdy stuff that you literally can join the Discord and then just lurk and just listen to them talk about random stuff. And we're starting to get the Discord kind of organized. And thanks to Colin and Kyle for that, or Darkbite. And I love it, this new organization. In fact, let me bring this over so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. This is the new organization of the channels on Goju Tech Talk. So you can see there's like a bunch of channels, and here's our members. This is like broken a lot of times, so it just doesn't update itself. But it was 107, and then I think a few people just joined, so now it's probably more. But Discord, they're still learning how to code over on Discord. They don't always get this right. Sorry, that was probably mean, but just trying to be real. I don't know, like, I don't know why it's so hard to have a count. I don't, like, is counting really that hard? I mean, I guess it is, but because it gets it right once I exit Discord and restart, but then sometimes it's crazy how it's insane how I will go to check the members and it'll be like, you have 30 members. I'll be like, that's strange. I had 95 just 2 hours ago. Really? Did 67% of the people just drop? Yeah, you literally have to quit and restart Discord. And I think that's strange. I got to be honest with you. Why do I think that's strange? Because it's counting. It's counting, guys. Like this kind of counting. 1, 2, 3. How hard is this? You have a member list, and so if somebody clicks on the members, you could do something that makes sure that it's not... No, Matt. No. Somebody ban Matt. All right? We're not... We are not doing that. Bad Matt, okay? Bad. That's a slap on the wrist. But literally, all you have to do is say, oh, let me recount this every hour so the number's correct, and then you count. I understand that people could quit the Discord, or they could rejoin the Discord, all of this type of thing. I fully grok that. But again, it's something that's very strange to me because this isn't like one of the hard problems in computer science. This isn't an impossibility problem. This is something that, and the number's not even large, right? Like I can show you a large number that would be hard to calculate, which YouTube seems to be doing fairly well. And that's when like our subscription count on YouTube is on the order of millions. I could see that like being a difficult number to keep track of. But YouTube doesn't suddenly decide, oh, sorry, Goju, you actually went from millions of subs to you have 140 now. Oh, that sucks. And I don't have to quit YouTube and restart YouTube to get this right. So I am a little bit tougher on software when software gets basic things wrong. Because it doesn't have to. It's just lack of care. It's almost always lack of care. It's almost not lack of difficulty. Sorry. It's almost always not lack of simplicity. What I mean is that some problems are extremely hard to solve, but counting is not one of them. So, yeah. I'm not going to let them get out of jail free on that one. I'm looking for something back here. I'm not finding it. I found it. Okay, I found it. Okay. Anyway, so check out the Discord if you guys aren't already on it. It's super awesome, and Kyle's doing a great job reorganizing this stuff so the channels are broken down into easier digestible sections. And all these channels existed before, but it was like this massive list which was a little difficult to kind of digest. And now he's broken them into smaller chunks. And I love that. And then somewhere in here, I have the Goju Hangout channel, which is, so I created this channel where I mostly will just post random things. And for anybody that's on the Discord, I invite you, you can come and drop any amount of nonsense that you want on the Goju Hangout channel. It won't bother me at all. And I think just follow the rules. Mostly the rules are just basically be a cool dude or dudette or duder, whatever we want to call it. And that's basically it. As long as you're sort of a reasonable human being, then everything's great. Here's the list of rules that Colin came up with. So don't harass other people. It doesn't mean that you can't like poke at somebody and say, yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't totally agree with that. I think it's like slightly different. That's totally fine. But don't just like start telling them that you're an idiot, and because that's not what JTT is about. We're here to grow and to level each other up. And it doesn't mean we're always going to agree. There's lots of stuff that people post that I don't agree with, but there's a way to discuss things. It really, I mean, in my mind, it's a very strange thing. It goes back to this, what were we talking about? We were talking about this intellectual honesty, right? Intellectual honesty is such an inhibitor for people's career because oftentimes it just has to do with this incessant need to be right and not willing to consider that you might actually be wrong, or there might be things in the universe that you don't know. That's, of course there are, right? There's things that all of us don't know. There's too much information in the world for us to possibly know all the things. So, and there's no embarrassment to that, right? I'm learning about new stuff all the time. If anything, that the things that you don't know, the moment that you learn them, that's great. But part of what I think gets people into trouble with this intellectual honesty is they make this mistake. And I see this all the time. I see this 100 times a day. No exaggeration. I literally see it 100 times a day because I get DMs from all kinds of people, especially from hyper smart people. And it looks like this. They make a strong claim about something that they probably shouldn't have made a strong claim about. They will say something like this: the absolute best thing or the most important thing to do is this. Who's to say? Who made that decision? Especially when you try to force that on other people and say, you know what you need to do? You need to do this. Like, just, no. You're already coming in too hot. And mostly, I can tell you from working with a ton of really smart people, most people don't want to be told what they need. You're going to alienate them immediately. So don't do that. Try something like this, right? Suggest something. Say, listen, I think this is super awesome. What do you think about this? The moment you rephrase it as a question, it changes it from being an order to a discussion. And the moment that people feel like they are included, that it's now not a monologue, but it's a dialogue, is the moment that you have the ability to break new ground with them. This is how you can foster really strong relationships, is by creating inclusiveness, by opening up to someone and say, listen, I understand what you're saying. I have a different take. Here's what I think about this. But you don't come in and say, you're wrong. Here's the answer. And I know that I'm right. Again, very smart people, I think, will be largely repelled by this because it's too over the top. Even if you are right. Even if, like, for example, when I'm saying this stuff about the neural networks, there was a guy that he was actually a somewhat regular viewer and subscriber on GTT. And I think that he still is. And I like this guy. He's super cool. But he was certain that neural networks were deterministic. And he was saying that I can prove it. Okay, like, I mean, I've been teaching neural networks for 20 years now. I have published, I don't know, at least 20 peer-reviewed research papers on neural networks. I probably have 70 or 80 issued patents in the space of machine learning or neural networks. They're not deterministic. They're actually stochastic. So no one can prove that neural networks are deterministic. You can't prove it because it's not true, right? But even with this guy that was taking this hard line, I think my response was like, it's totally okay to have different opinions about things. But we start to have problems when we have different facts, because facts are not supposed to be different. Facts are supposed to be like the foundation of truth that we all build on. Like, for example, an interesting fact that I think would like largely be indisputable, but would create a lot of tension if someone tried to argue against it, is that the rewrite of this dashboard, the fact is it was done in Go. That's just a fact. And if someone tries to argue and say, actually, this rewrite is done in Python, it would just be factually inaccurate. So just don't go there. And then the moment that you realize that your facts are wrong, don't double down on it. Acknowledge it and say, oh, shoot, I got this wrong. I'm an idiot. I'm a dum-dum. I didn't know this stuff. Just stop taking yourself so seriously, right? Like, be the person that people want to be around, which is not the person that has a hard line, you know, just uncompromising know-it-all that actually doesn't know it all. And the worst part is, like, when you take this perspective of knowing it all, what happens is you often will alienate yourself from really smart people that you could be learning a lot of stuff from. But because you've jaded this entire community of smart people because you know all the stuff, you lose access to those people. Not because you're smarter than them, but because they're just so annoyed with your bullshit. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to, is they have better things to do than argue with someone about things that are actually not arguable, like what Terrence Howard is doing, right? It's just like the rest of the world is sort of has better things to do than argue about his mathematics that has kind of no foundation in science or numbers or any of that stuff. Take the humble pill. Admit that you just don't know all the things, and then go educate yourself. But when you are communicating with people, this is my strong conviction, is try to avoid strong claims. Lean on using weak claims. And what's likely to happen is when you use weak claims, you're going to build relationships with people much faster. They're not going to be you're not going to alienate them. And I talk about this in this research guidance thing. There's a section in here where, yeah, people, I see a lot of people do, yeah, this is kind of it. Qualify your claims. Oh. Qualify your claims, especially when they are opinions. Stop conflating your opinions as facts. Yeah, look at this. I forgot a closing quote. I make mistakes all the time. I'm almost tempted to click this button and fix it right now, but let's just... So here's the thing, is that you can make mistakes, and the only time really that people, I think, start to crucify you on it is when you take like this holier than thou perspective, right? I make mistakes all the time. Here's one of them, right? But I'm not trying to defend it. Instead, I'm going to openly acknowledge it and be like, oh yeah, I'm an idiot. I forget stuff all the time. Sorry guys, I'll fix this later. And then we move on. But when you try to like, oh, oh, that was caused because somebody was interrupting me, and you get just defensive about it, smart people can just see right through this nonsense. So don't do it. Just own it and then move on. But there's something in here, at least I thought I had something in here, where avoid this. Where are these weak claims? Graceful dialogue. Yeah, here we go. Most powerful, three most powerful words you probably aren't saying enough. I don't know. I don't know. Once you get comfortable with this, I don't know, I think that it opens up so much opportunity, because once you can admit that you don't know something, other people who might know can teach you things. But if you aren't confident enough to just admit that you don't know something and you posture, then you lose the opportunity for people to teach you things that you didn't know. And this was a really big thing for me when I was doing my PhD. I entered it and I was so certain that I knew all the stuff and I was the superstar. It actually held me back significantly. And through a lot of learning and patience with my advisors that taught me to chill out a little bit, which mostly had to do with just being comfortable with myself and being comfortable with not knowing all the stuff and still being okay. Still being like, I'm not all that, but who I am is sufficient. And I'm going to just work on one simple thing. This one simple thing, which is be better today than you were yesterday. That's it. That's the only thing. Don't focus on being better than somebody else. Don't compare yourself to other people. Don't demean yourself. Don't beat yourself up too much. Don't hold yourself. Definitely avoid too much self congratulations or self praise. Like that's a recipe for disaster as well. But just focus on this one little thing, is that the goal of today is just to make you a slightly better version than you were yesterday. That's it. And then when you do that in perpetuity, I'm telling you, it's up and to the right. This is what it becomes. You just do this day in and day out, and it's amazing what you can achieve. And then you can start to be comfortable with a lot of these things, like not knowing. And it's not embarrassing. There's a bazillion things that I don't know. I'm learning stuff all the time. I just learned about IPv5, right? I have like a PhD in this stuff. I teach this stuff at the university. I don't know it. So if I don't know it, how could other people know all these things? I'm essentially like giving you an excuse on like saying it's okay if you don't know this stuff. I'm supposed to be an expert in this stuff, and even I don't know. Now, admittedly, I'm an idiot, so you shouldn't be using me as the baseline. The point is that if you can just stop taking yourself so seriously and just chill out a little bit, the world can become your oyster. I do find that this is one of the big problems that hyper-intelligent people get into a rabbit hole on. I got into a rabbit hole myself with this. It was when I was taking myself too seriously, and I was a fickia, freaking know-it-all, that most of my problems were deriving from that. And I have significantly now I have like actual real problems, not manufactured problems, not manufactured drama. But I feel like, yeah, you guys should, if you haven't seen this research guidance list, I strongly recommend you check it out. I created this when I was running my lab at Intel Labs, and my team, I would explain these things in team meetings, and my team basically said, could you just like write this down because we forget the list, and I think that this would be a really good list for people to reference. So then I took a weekend or something and wrote down some of the key things. Thing number one, which I continue to believe is the most important, is honest and objective introspection. If you have this quality, all other things, in my opinion, become possible. Because if you can be honest and objective with your introspection, it basically opens up the opportunity to unlimited growth. And if you have unlimited growth, then all the stuff becomes possible. But the reason why we got here for this qualifying your claims. And I used to say weak claims, prefer weak claims to strong claims. And that should be in here. Let me see if I can find this. I do find that a lot of people struggle with this, understanding the separation between what is factual information and what is subjective information. And I think it's becoming harder and harder in the world that we live in with social media and misinformation. But I think there really are facts out there. There are a lot of opinions, and there is also contextual truths. And what I mean by this, contextual truths are things where this is true in a certain context, but it's not necessarily universally true. An example of that might be let's take business. You run a business, and there is a very clear path forward with your business. There's something that is literally a truth of what you need to do for that business, and everybody knows it's the same thing. And it varies from business to business. It also varies based on the time. Like sometimes you're in fundraising mode with the company, and so raising money is the thing that you must do because that's the path that you're on. Other times it could be you have to get new customers, and that is like the thing to do. This is contextual truth. It's true, but only because of the context. What people sometimes do is they take a contextual truth and accidentally try to make it a universal truth. They take the situation they're in, and it's like the thing that matters to them, which is actually contextually true. They try to apply that universally to everybody, and then they start getting blowback on like, oh, that's actually not what matters to me. It's something different. And then it ends up being this massive fight or disagreement, but only because they presented an opinion, which was a contextual truth for them, but it's not universal, as this universal fact. If they would have just qualified it, if they would have just done this part, qualifying your claims, instead of saying, the most important thing for all businesses is this, but instead say, the most important thing right now for my business is this. That small change completely changes the way that that information is perceived by others. Because now, rather than it being something that you're trying to force onto other people, which could absolutely be wrong, you essentially create it in this environment where it does make sense. It's about this specific environment that you're in, and that others can choose to adopt it, or they could choose to ignore it. It's really up to them. It is qualifying. Yes, Matt. That is awesome, bro. Oh, I love that. Uh, okay, so someone is pinging me on my DMs to have me talk about this my new lizard friend. So I'm gonna talk about my new lizard friend. I'm gonna tell you this story, and then I think we're gonna end the stream for today, and we will talk about these other things tomorrow. We'll literally dive right in into the MIT 10 list, and we'll go through the dashboard because I want to be honest, I want to be a little selfish, and I want to hack on the dashboard some more because I'm in full Uber coding mode right now, or architecting mode, and I had to force myself to stop to do this stream because I really want to build out this freaking thingamabob. Oh, and also maybe what we'll do is we will actually go through the list for data camp. Is I'll go through the top 5 things. I'll walk you through them. I'll explain it, and then essentially I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Is that the live stream will be my recording of this data camp VOD that I'm supposed to create, and all of you that log in for the live stream, you can get to see it ahead of everybody else, and then I'll be able to carve out the short version from that. So let's pivot and let's talk about my lizard friend. All right. Earlier this year, so where I live it's kind of a lizard friendly place, and I've got these little lizard guys that show up in my backyard, and I kind of try to skedaddle them, but I'm not I don't like to intentionally harm things that are alive. I go out of my way to not hurt little critters and stuff. And you know, even sometimes with spiders, it depends on if it's sort of a venomous spider or not, or I think that it's venomous. Sometimes those guys will have to go bye-bye. But even with spiders and stuff, I'll try to like, okay, can you just exit the house? Now, I'm not going like full hardcore where everything that's alive I respect, and this isn't a kumbaya kind of thing. But I don't actively go around trying to hurt things that are alive. Anyway, so there's this lizard that's in my backyard, and he's like in the sidewalk pathway in my backyard. I've almost stepped on him a couple times, and then caught myself and moved him away. Like, bro, just kind of don't stand in the middle. I almost stepped on you, so I kind of scoot him, and then he goes off and, you know, plays in the backyard. Well, the other day, he somehow got into my house, right? This little lizard guy. So he's about, I don't know, maybe like this big. He's pretty small. You know, I don't know how to describe it. Well, you'll see him on camera at some point. I'll make a video. But so this little lizard guy decided he's just gonna come into the house. I'm hanging out in my office doing stuff. And by the way, he's not just coming into the house, he's coming into the office. He's like going out of his way to be part of the family. No fear or something. And it's not just me. You know, the doggy's in here, and the dog sometimes gets wacky with the things that he does and will go after the lizards, but I've tried to train him to don't hurt the lizards, just move them along. So this lizard guy over here right next to me, there's a pathway to the other door, and he's right there. He's not hiding. He's not going for cover. He's literally just standing in the middle of this thing, just hanging out. So I get up and I almost step on him again, and I'm like, lizard guy, you got to kind of like, I don't want to hurt you, but could you just move out of the way? Like, if you're going to move in, fine, move in, but like, don't be so obnoxious, and the dog's going to go for you. So I reach down and I try to like just give him a nudge, and he literally is just like, I'm just going to stay right here, man. Sorry, Goju, I'm not going anywhere. So he's not afraid of me. You know, he doesn't run and he doesn't try to bite me. He just like, I'm going to freeze. And I'm like moving him over. So I do this, and then he finally like runs off, and I'm like, okay, cool. You hang out in the background. You can stick around as long as you mind your own business. That's fine. There's enough room for all of us. Just take cover, because I don't know what the dog's going to do. Then an hour or two later, he comes back and he puts himself in the middle of the room again. Like, again, he's not even going for cover, guys. He's not trying to be hidden. He's almost like, I'm here. This is my space too. So at this point, I'm like, I guess he's decided that he's part of the family. So I build him basically this little cage. And because mostly I'm just building the cage just so the dog doesn't eat him. Right? And also I don't accidentally step on him. So I build this makeshift cage for him. I punch holes in the top so he has his air. I get him a little water thing and whatever kind of food. I actually ordered stuff on Amazon for him now. But his official cage doesn't arrive until tomorrow. But basically where we are now is there's a new member of the Goju household, and it's our lizard friend. So he's over to in the side room here. He's in his plastic container that has holes punched in it. I put a little like setup for him, so he's got like his own little makeshift domicile, and he's like his paper towels and random stuff that he's hiding under and making fortresses. And I gave him some food, and he's got his food and a little water. And so this little critter guy has somehow made himself part of the Goju household. I have no idea what the moral of this story is, but I wanted to share because I thought it was a little bit hilarious that this little MFer has just, I mean, you gotta applaud his courage, right? He's yeah, I mean, he's getting a free food supply, and what's interesting is he's in the cage now, and I mean, it seems to me like this. Maybe this is the outcome he wanted. Is he's got his own little home. He's protected now. He's got his food, and he doesn't try to run away. I'll come over and like give him stuff, and he pops out, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And so I guess there's a third member of the Goju household. Once I once I get him in his new setup, the little cage that I got should arrive from Amazon tomorrow. And once I move him into that and get him set up, I'll take a couple pictures and I'll drop it on the Discord so you can see this guy. And I don't know anything about lizards, so I've never owned a lizard before. I have no idea what kind of lizard he is. He's just this little guy. He's not like a big thing or anything. And he seems pretty chill. So I've been probably giving him too much food, and he is eating it, so I hope he doesn't eat himself to death. And I've been giving him water, and I ordered him some of the dried worms, so I guess that's what I'm gonna feed him. And maybe one of the main topics that we're gonna have as a recurring theme is Goju's lizard. We're gonna do a check-in on this little guy, and we'll try to understand what kind of lizard he is, figure out how old he is, what his life expectancy, what things we're supposed to feed him, and maybe we'll create like a channel for him on the Discord. I don't know. It's going to be fun. But see how easy it is to get into the Goju household? You just have to like show up, put yourself literally in the middle of the doorway, and then make it clear that you're not going to move. And then eventually I'm just going to be like, all right, I guess it's communal here. Just don't expect too much attention. I have work to do, but that's fine. If you want to be there and you don't make a lot of noise, whatever. There's room for more. Yeah, I will. I'll show it to the AIs, and the AIs can tell me all about him. And admittedly, he is pretty cute. I gotta say, more than anything, I like his attitude. I like that he seems to have literally no fear. I don't know how he's. I mean, maybe he's been living in my backyard for a while, and that's why he's gotten to the point where he's like, this dude's not gonna mess with me. He's had multiple opportunities to take me out, and he just doesn't. He goes out of his way not to hurt me. So I think I've got the upper hand here. And he's right, right? I think he does it. I mean, look, he's the one that's getting a home built for him. He's the one that's now going to get free food for life. So maybe the moral here is once you start basically deciding how the world is going to treat you, the world is just going to start treating you that way. I don't know. Maybe there is no moral, except just something for us to talk about. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for joining the Saturday stream. We're going to do a Sunday stream and talk some more about the stuff. I can strike the lizard story off my list, and I'm going to put recording the data camp thing as one of our items for tomorrow. And we'll see what that looks like. Keep going, keep growing. Join as a YouTube member if you're not already. And thank you, Chris, for all of those gifted memberships. I think I know what that means, but I don't actually. And last but not least, if you're not on the Discord, definitely join. It's totally free. You don't have to pay anything, and mostly I think it'll just make your life better, so you can be surrounded by like-minded people that are eager to act as a community, talk about super nerdy things, and generally just be good human beings. And then maybe, just maybe, if we get far enough along, we'll talk about some of the stuff that I'm hinting on with GTT growing to be something like the next Linux Foundation. Because I do have really, really big plans on that. We have other things in front of us that we need to do before we start really diving in. There's just an ensemble of things that need to come together, but those things are 100% coming together now. Excellent. All right. Thanks, everybody. You're amazing, and we will talk soon.